suppose is the screws against us. You stick by us, we'll stick by you.
Yeah, mustn't lag, love.
Never dob your mates in.
Or any of the other women, even if you hate their guts. Never give a screw any information under any circumstances, understand?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't dob anybody in.
Oh, okay, you remember that, you'll be all right. We'll look after you.
Oh, great. I was hoping I'd find somebody who'd show me the ropes.
Oh, yeah, that's one other thing. Any ropes you find, toss them over the fence and haul yourself over the top.
Dora and me are going to make some scones for Sid tomorrow.
I thought Pal said there were not to be any repeat performances.
Oh, I can get around her. When I go to work on her, she'll be putty in my hands. What sort of scones will we make? Fruit scones or plain scones?
You won't be making any scones, Birdsworth. You two don't think you'll be allowed back to the kitchen, do you? You abused that privilege.
And since when was working anywhere in here a privilege?
You were very lucky you didn't end up in solitary.
Oh, Mrs. Powell didn't dob us in, did she?
What did you expect? Try something like that again and you'll be in trouble.
Oh, look, all she's trying to do is cheer up a sick mate. We couldn't expect you to understand that, though, could we?
Watch it, Smith, or you'll be in solitary as well.
If they're going to put us all in the pound, it's going to be pretty hard to be in solitary.
Oh, I didn't think Mrs. Powell would do that to me. I expect they've kept the cake.
Oh, yeah. Davo would have taken it for sure. It's probably in the rubbish bin by now.
Now we won't be able to get anything out for Sid. Don't suppose we'll even be able to get that knitting out for him.
Oh, come on, Lizzie. Don't get too upset.
Oh, it's rotten to be old. Old, locked up, not able to help a sick friend. It's rotten.
Don't let us interrupt your work. We're just doing an inspection tour of the equipment.
Oh, Mrs. Davidson, we certainly could do with some new equipment. Some of this is as old as the hills.
Yeah, especially the old thing that folds the sheets.
But I'm running better than some of this junk.
Oh, couldn't we have some new machinery, Mrs. Davidson? Some of this is pre-war.
Pre-war, it's prehistoric.
I'm afraid we can't afford to replace any of the equipment. Whilst it's still working, we have to use it.
No, never mind. We'll make do, Mrs. Davidson. Probably couldn't handle any newfangled gadgets anyway.
Well, it's nice to hear something other than complaints for a change.
There is something you could do for us, though, Mrs. Davidson.
Yes, miss, what's that?
Well, Laurie's about to have her 21st birthday, and we'd like to have a fancy dress party for her.
Where'd you get the costumes from?
Well, we've worked that out. If we're allowed to do it, we'll use the stuff left over from the pantomime. How about it, Mrs. Davidson?
Well, I don't see why you can't have a party in the recreation room. Yes, I think it's a very good idea. Oh, gee, that's terrific.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I never thought I'd be at my daughter's 21st day.
Excuse me, Mrs. Davidson. Birdsworth's got a visitor.
Must be Sid. Is it Sid, Miss Bennet?
If you hurry, you'll find out.
Oh, Sid, I knew it would be you.
How are you, Elizabeth?
Oh, I'm real good. The thing is, how are you?
Oh, good as gold. Yeah, I brought you some roses, but I had to leave them at the front desk.
Oh, yeah, them buggers wouldn't let you bring 'em in. How many did you bring, Sid?
A dozen.
Well, I'm going to count 'em when I get 'em. You never know if someone might have nicked them for themselves.
Oh, I'm sure they wouldn't do that.
Oh, you never know with some people. I had a real bonza time at your house the other day, Sid.
I had a lovely day too, Elizabeth. Yeah, I hope you can come again soon.
Well, I'm trying to get 'em to let me.
Yeah, you get quite a surprise when you do come. I've been doing a bit of work around the place. It's starting to look better already.
Oh, I hope you haven't been doing too much. You know, you got to take it pretty quiet.
Oh, just doing things slowly. I must admit, I do get tired pretty quick. But I'm looking after myself. Don't want to be too tired when you come next time.
Oh, you want to take care what you say in front of Miss Bennet here. She might get the wrong idea.
Well, it mightn't be the wrong idea, Elizabeth. Oh, thank you for your cake.
You got it. I thought Mrs. Powell would have dubbed me in.
No. Colin said she cleared it with Mrs. Davidson. Well, she thought she'd better, but I got it okay. Oh, lovely and rich it was. Must have had half a dozen eggs in it.
8 eggs. I should have known that Mrs. Powell wasn't a dobber.
Well, how are all the other ladies going?
Oh, real good. We're having a fancy dress party soon. Be nice if you could come, Sid.
What a lovely thought. Yeah, I'd like to see all my old mates again.
I reckon you could see them now. He could come in, couldn't he, Miss Bennett, and say hello?
Of course he can't, Birdsworth. Don't be ridiculous.
But he was in and out of the place before. What difference does it make?
He was here officially, but he doesn't work here any longer.
But he's the same person, isn't he? I mean, if he could come in before, why can't he come in now?
I'm not going to argue with you, Birdsworth. The answer is no, and that's that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, Elizabeth. Well, we have to follow the rules. Good heavens. What was bells going off in this place? What's that one for? I've forgotten.
That's for our morning break.
And you better get there, Birdsworth.
I'd rather stay here and talk to Sid.
Come on your way.
Oh. Look after yourself, Sid.
Oh, well, Elizabeth. And I hope to see you again soon. Very soon.
Oh, hi, Lizzie. Did you see Sid?
Yeah, and he brought me some roses, but old Vinegar wouldn't let him give them to me.
Oh, she's a mean old bugger.
Burns.
Anyway, how was Sid?
Well, he said he was all right, but he looked a bit tired. I reckon he should have somebody looking after him all the time.
Well, you'd better behave yourself then, Lizzie, so you can get out of here and look after him.
I intend doing that, Mr. Fletcher.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Oh, bloody screws, they're all the same. Doubting an old woman's word.
I didn't know they had men officers in here.
Oh, yeah, only a couple of them.
And that one's Fletch the Lech.
What, do you mean
No, that's just what we call him. He's okay. But the one who's a real pushover is Harrison. He's inclined to bend the rules a bit more than Vinegar or old Fletch.
Harrison.
Yeah, Terry Harrison.
Used to know a bloke called Terry Harrison.
Yeah?
Oh, it wouldn't be the same one, though. Can't imagine him ending up a prison officer.
Oh, you'd have to be pretty bent, wouldn't you?
You will say that she gets them, won't you, Miss Bennett?
She'll get them. And I'm not in the habit of taking things from the prisoners.
Oh, of course not. Yeah, don't let Elizabeth upset you. There's a bit of the devil in her sometimes, you know. In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if she quite liked you.
Julie, would you type these for me, please? I'd like 2 copies of each. Oh, hello, Mr. Humphrey. How nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Mrs. Davidson.
How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm coming along all right, too. Have to take things a bit slower than I used to, but I've made up my mind. I'm going to get back good as ever.
Good for you.
Mrs. Davidson, I was just wondering, would it be possible for me to see my friends in H Block? They were always sending me best wishes when I was...
Mr. Humphreys, I've already...
It's all right, Miss Bennett. I don't see why Mr. Humphrey can't have a quick hello with the women. In fact, I'll take him there myself. Oh, what lovely roses. Are they for Lizzie?
Yes, they are, matter of fact.
Well, bring them along and you can give them to her yourself.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Davidson.
Oh, Sid. They're beautiful.
Best I could find, Elizabeth.
Good on you, Sid. Nice to see you again. I knew they couldn't give a good man down.
Ah, of course not. Not no roughneck like me, eh?
Well, you make sure you look after yourself from now on. You sit back and relax a bit.
Oh, I've been doing so much of that lately. I'm getting calluses on the... Oh, yeah? Well, they're there anyway. Yeah, I can see you haven't been looking after this place. Hinge on that door's broken, and I saw a few exposed wires along the corridor. Could be dangerous, Mrs. Davidson.
I'll have them seen to, Mr. Humphrey.
Yeah, well, why couldn't we let Sid come in and do them?
Yeah, he needn't have to strain himself. I mean, I could hand him all his tools and I
Yeah,
could
why
carry
not,
his
Mrs.
back.
Davidson? We could make sure he didn't overwork himself.
I'm afraid I couldn't take the responsibility. We have to consider his health. You do understand that, don't you, Mr. Humphrey?
Oh, but Mrs. Davidson...
I'm sorry, Lizzie, it's quite impossible.
Copies of that, please.
Thank you for letting me see my friends again, Mrs. Davidson. Really giving me a lift.
Yes, I can see that. I hope you did understand why I was so definite about not letting you come back here to work.
Oh, of course, don't you worry about that. But, do you think it would be possible for Elizabeth to come and visit me again soon? I'll really look forward to it.
I think that could be arranged.
You're a real good sport, Mrs. Davidson. Good heavens, I'm starting to sound like Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mr. Humphrey.
Oh, would you give my regards to Mrs. Morris when you see her again?
Yes, I'll do that.
Oh, Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Would it be all right if I had a bit of a wander around the garden before I leave? Oh, just to see how the things I planted are coming
I'm
up.
sure that would be all right.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, Miss Bennett. Julie.
Mr. Humphrey? Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
I think the women are planning some sort of party.
Yes, that's right. A costume party to celebrate Young's 21st birthday. I've given my permission.
Well, do you think that's wise?
Yes, I do. I think it will help their morale. And I would like all the staff to cooperate in making it a success.
I really don't see why women in prison should be allowed to have parties.
Because anything that lessens the tension benefits both the staff and the prisoners, Miss Bennett.